Hey guys, welcome back. This is video 4 of the Longtail build series. In the last video, we made a dummy axle to the size of our BMX wheel and dropouts. In this video, we're onto the tubes. We'll get them mitered and fixtured up on the jig. These are the tubes we'll be cutting and assembling. We'll start with the C-tube. My original plan was to cut this at a length of 402.7 millimeters, but after a look at my drawing, I decided to extend the top of this tube. So I changed the length to 420 millimeters. Now I am checking the tube for straightness. This is something I did not do on my previous build, but I had a nice chat with Jamie Swan, and I learned from him that this is something most frame builders do. My welding table is not flat enough to test the tube in this way, so I'm throwing it under some angle blocks, and I'll stick a dial gauge in the middle. You can see here that the tube bows a bit, so I'll mark the side that curves down. This isn't super critical, but if you want to cross all your T's, it's a fairly simple way to take your frame that extra bit to the next level. And to help explain things again, we'll get some help from Pinky. Hello, Pinky. Hello! It would have been better if I used the C-tube as an example, but for whatever reason, I use the top tube, so please bear with me. Anyway, you can see here the tube is not straight. I'm showing an example of the best way to orient your curved tube. In this case, you don't want it to curve out the side. It's better for the tube to curve on the frame's profile. Okay, thanks, Pinky. Here I'm marking the tube at 420 millimeters. Measuring the bottom bracket and marking where to make the cut. And checking hole saw clearance. I'm always paranoid I'll cut off too much. Now I'm cutting the tube, and if you listen closely, it sounds like a train on a track. And that's because the blade was missing some teeth, and I really should have stopped the cut and changed the blade, but for whatever reason, I was like a deer in the headlights. I felt like I had to keep going, so I did, and luckily everything was okay. Okay, let's miter this tube. The C-tube is the easiest miter. You just need to set up your saw down at 90 degrees, and the saw needs to be the size of your bottom bracket shell, of course. These are bottom bracket sleeves for a standard bottom bracket shell. You can see here that the diameter is too small for a BMX mid bottom bracket shell. They kind of get lost in there, but I found that I could flip the sleeve and it fit well, so I was able to fixture the bottom bracket in with the sleeves flipped. Pure luck that this fit in the way it did, so yay. Next we'll drop the C-tube on the jig, and to center it up on the bottom bracket shell, I modified my centering wedge thing to work with tapered C-tubes. Okay, all centered up and ready to go. One last sanity check, and it looks good. Setting the C-tube angle. And now for the down tube. Here I'm marking where to make the cut, and I'll use V-blocks to, I'll fixture these V-blocks on there, and then I'll stick a parallel against the side, and I use that to kind of get a straight line around the tube. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so here I am cutting the top tube. Oh, sorry, the down tube. And the saw sounds much better this time. I changed the blade, so much better. Alright, so I didn't have another regular V-block. This is the V-block that I used to miter on my lathe with. I don't do that anymore, but I used to do that. And so that V-block in the middle is just so that I can get the orientation of this tube set up properly. So you can see here I'm turning the tube and got my angle gauge on there. And now I'm ready to make the cut. And this video is sped up when I make these cuts because I go really slow, this being a mini mill. Okay, that was the bottom bracket end, and now for the head tube end. So I'm setting my angle to 67.1, and another sanity check, I always like to compare the drawing just to make double sure I got the right angle. I know it looks really dumb, but trust me, it does help. Especially if you're new to mitering in this way, the angle I'm referencing is the down tube angle relative to the head tube angle. And the down tube is fixtured in the vise upside down. To make things even more confusing, I had to set my angle gauge to 0 while sitting on the mill's table at 90 degrees. Again, because I'm using the angle relative to the down tube. Confused yet? Excellent. Let's move on. Now I'm measuring for the C-tube miter. And tube is mitered. Next tube, the top tube. Pretty much the same deal with this tube, except different angles and miter saws. Here I'm cutting the head tube end. And cutting the C-tube end. I forgot to change the hole saw. Okay, let's get this brand new top tube on here and test the fit. As expected, doesn't quite fit. C-tube is externally tapered, so it has a larger diameter at the top. If I test it lower on the tube, it fits perfectly. So I need to file it down some. Here I'm loading the head tube and other tubes. head tube fit-ups, the filed top tube to fit the seat tube, and bottom bracket shell miters. Okay guys, that is a wrap. Sorry this video took so long. I had to wait for the new tube, and it's the holiday season, so lots of family stuff going on as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and as always, I'll see you guys later.